Okay. Uh, all right. This is just kind of a spur of the moment thing. I just decided I was gonna do this like half an hour ago. Wasn't really planning on it until then. So I basically just jotted down a couple notes here. So I don't think this is going to be incredibly comprehensive, and I'll probably leave something out that I forgot. But some people expressed an interest in hearing my thoughts on The Last Jedi, so I figured I'd do that. Also, I'm sorry, I still don't have the microphone set up. I was going to set aside some time to get that thing figured out, but I ran into some car trouble, which kind of derailed everything that I was going to do. Um, so basically, I went to see the movie Thursday night, and I got about I drove for about a mile, and I blew out my front left tire. And my trunk was frozen shut, and I forgot my phone, so I couldn't call AAA. So I had to drive back home on three tires. Can't imagine that did my car any favors, but I got a different car, got my hands on a different car, and I still made it to the movie on time. So the next day, I spend like half an hour trying to get the trunk open, and I get the spare out. But it's down. The car is down too low to get the jack under it, so I have to call AAA. And no sooner, and the second I hang up with AAA, I notice that my front right tire is flat too, and I've only got the one spare. So the AAA guy he changed the one tire, and I put air in the other one, and now I'm waiting to see if it stays inflated. I'm hoping it's not blown out, but it's just flat because I had to drive home on the three tires. So I'm waiting to see if I have to buy one new tire or two. And either way, it's an expense that I really don't want to think about right now. So that's what I did on Friday. And it kind of threw off everything else, and that's why I don't have the mic set up right now. Anyway, I'm going to try hard to get it set up next time. Also, I apologize. I think there might be a pay-per-view on tonight. I'm not really sure. It seems like people are watching wrestling on Twitter. Sounds like I think WWE's having a pay-per-view or anything, but I haven't been paying very close attention just because all this other stuff I've had going on. Anyway, Last Jedi. Was really looking forward to this. I had confidence. I had hope that it was going to be good. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens a lot. And it seemed like Disney had their head screwed on straight here. So I was really looking forward to it. I was there on Thursday night. And I was really excited for this. Got my ticket back in October. I don't think I've ever been as frustrated by a Star Wars movie as I was by this one. And it wasn't the same as the prequels. The prequels, I was just angry because they weren't good. Because they were just poorly directed, poorly made, poorly written, and all that stuff. This one legitimately frustrated me. For a lot of reasons. So, let's just get into that, because I had to actually wrote a lot of stuff here. Okay, yeah, I'm feeling a little unorganized here, but let's just talk about this. Because there are a lot of things that I just did not work for me with this movie at all. Okay. Number one, inappropriate comedy. As there actually are a lot of comedic moments in this film, and a lot of them don't work. I think most of them don't work, actually. A lot of these moments, they just felt wrong. Like, people in my theater were laughing, but to me, they just felt out of place. Like, it didn't feel like they belonged in a Star Wars movie. Not that they weren't funny exactly, it's like they belonged in a different movie somehow. Like, a couple examples here. Oh, by the way, in case you haven't seen the movie yet, I'm going to spoil literally everything that happened in this movie. So if you don't want to be spoiled by The Last Jedi or you haven't seen it yet, just turn this thing off now. Go watch the movie first, because I'm going to spoil everything. All right. So anyway, examples of comedy that don't work. In the start of the movie, when the First Order is closing in on the rebels, the Resistance, or whatever we're calling them, Poe goes out to distract the First Order, right? And he opens up a comm channel, and he's talking to General Hux, and then he starts joking around, pretending that he can't hear Hux, and he's making some cutesy remarks, and people are chuckling about it and everything, but it's supposed to be a serious moment, like the First Order is closing in on the last remnants of the Resistance here. This should be tense, and instead people are laughing. And instead they're going for laughs. And not only that, you're making Hux, who is essentially like third in command of the First Order, you're making him look like a joke. You're making him look incompetent. Like no one takes him seriously, and that's not really something you want to do with one of your bigger villains in the movie. So to me, all that did was kind of undermine Hux and make him look ridiculous. Also, another example, when Finn wakes up, he's wearing this, he's not in a bacta tank, he's kind of like in a suit, like full of bacta fluid. And then he tries to get up and he's walking through this corridor and the suit is leaking all over the place. And it goes, again, it's played for laughs, but it just seems dumb. Like, okay, he almost died at the end of The Force Awakens. Now his look, ha, his bacta suit is leaking all over the floor. Ha, isn't that funny? No, it's not. It just feels inappropriate. Also, Luke milking that cow thing and then drinking like the juice right from the teat of it. Yeah, because gross out humor is what Star Wars is about now? Really? Really? Is that what we want to see Luke doing? Yeah, but most of the comedy in this film just did not work for me at all. Did not work. Lest we forget the worst offender. The worst, the most infuriating attempt at humor in this movie. When Rey hands Luke his father's lightsaber. Luke's first the first lightsaber that Luke used, the lightsaber that he fought Vader with in The Empire Strikes Back, that he hasn't seen since The Empire Strikes Back. Hands him his lightsaber, he just chucks it off the cliff like a piece of trash. He doesn't treat it with reverence and dignity. At the very least, this is something that would have incredible sentimental value to Luke, if not more. He just throws it away in a moment played for laughs. Horrible. What were they thinking? It was awful. Luke was something I'd been waiting 2 years to see in this movie, and now in the very first scene with him, they did that, and right there, I just got this horrible sinking feeling in my stomach. Like, oh no, what are they doing? What's happening here? I knew something was. I think I knew at that moment that I was not going to like what they did. I know it. I thought back to this quote from Mark Hamill where he said when he read the script, he went to Rian Johnson and he said, who wrote it and directed it, and he said, look, I completely disagree with everything you're doing with Luke here. And I didn't know what he meant then. Now I know. At that moment, I knew. I was like, oh God, and now I get what he was talking about now. Is it going to get worse than this? And yeah, it got worse. But that was the worst offender for attempts at humor in this movie. All right, next problem: pacing issues. This entire film takes place over like maybe 2 or 3 days. So the pacing, the pacing is really breakneck right from the start. But then there's this other like extended sequence, and I think you know which one I'm talking about, where the pacing just grinds to a screeching halt for like half an hour, and then it speeds back up again. So the pacing is both too fast and too slow. And you know where I'm going with that, right? Like the whole, like basically everything on the gambling planet just ground the story straight to a halt. That they needed to cut that entire, like everything on the gambling planet needed to go. I'll get to that later. Next, pointless new characters. For some reason, this movie devotes a lot of time and a lot of attention to these new characters who mean nothing, who we don't care about at all, and focuses on them in place of the characters we actually wanted to see. All right, okay, Vice Admiral Holdo. Okay, so when Leia is incapacitated, command falls to Holdo. Because when I guess it would have been Akbar, but spoiler alert, Akbar dies completely unceremoniously. So unceremoniously, in fact, that I didn't even realize he was dead until afterward, where they said, "Oh yeah, Leia's in a coma and Akbar's dead." I was like, "What? What the wait, Akbar? They killed Akbar? When did that happen? I don't know." If it either happened off screen or it was so quick that I didn't even realize what they'd done. That's how Akbar dies. And it pisses me off because Akbar would have been like the logical choice to succeed Leia if Leia couldn't be there. And instead of Akbar, it's just this purple-haired bitch. Who for one, her performance isn't good, which is strange because it's Laura Dern. She's a good actor, but then they proceed to devote this entire subplot to her that is nothing but a time filler. Literally nothing. How, okay, she is just having them run from the First Order because they can't go to Lightspeed because reasons. And meanwhile, she's gassing up these transports, and Poe thinks, "Oh, you're a coward. You're going to abandon us. You're going to abandon the Resistance." And so he stages a mutiny to get her removed from command. But then there's a swerve, and it turns out, oh, she was just gassing up a transport so everyone else could escape, but she's going to stay behind and cover their escape so they can get away, and she can sacrifice herself. Well, if that was what she was doing, why the hell didn't she just say that in the beginning? All she had to do was say what she was doing, and then they could have avoided this whole thing, so that entire subplot was pointless. And again, it's Holdo who sacrifices herself. Holdo who gets this glorious, like, defiant death. This big heroic moment. When she's a character that we've known for half an hour. Whereas Akbar is killed totally unceremoniously, possibly off screen, I don't really remember. But Akbar is just thrown away like a bitch. And Holdo is the one who's given the glorious sacrifice. Now, think about how much more this would have meant if you just threw away Holdo altogether. She's not in the movie anymore. And instead, put Akbar in that spot. So it's Akbar who sacrifices himself to save everybody else. Think about how much more of an emotional punch that moment would have packed if it was Akbar doing that instead. Because we care about Akbar. He's been he's been a beloved Star Wars character for fucking decades. What is it, 40 years now? No one cares who Holdo is. No one gives a shit about her. Why wasn't it Akbar in that spot? And again, in this whole thing is to cap off a storyline that didn't even need to be there and could have been resolved if she had just said something. There was no reason why she couldn't like just tell Poe what she was doing. Why didn't she just do that? I don't know. Because they needed to fill time. It was just lazy writing. And then, another pointless character, Benicio del Toro, who doesn't even get a name in the movie, by the way. Apparently, his name is DJ, but I don't count that because his name is never spoken on screen. And you probably have to go to like IMDb or something just to find out what his name actually was. But they go to this game. Finn and this new character Rose. I actually kind of liked her, but they go to this gambling planet to find a code breaker who can like break them into the Star Destroyer so they can shut down this tracker that they're using to track the Resistance fleet through hyperspace. But then they need this code breaker. And they can't get to him, so they meet this other dude, Benicio, in the cell, and he's also a code breaker, so they get him. And they get onto the ship, and they get him onto the ship, and he I guess he betrays them, and so they fight. Then Finn fights with Captain Phasma, and then they just escape. So after all that time spent on the gambling planet, after all the time spent on getting Benicio del Toro onto the Star Destroyer, they don't even accomplish what their entire subplot was meant to accomplish, which was to shut down the tracker, because in the end, Holdo just destroys the Star Destroyer herself by warp speeding into it. So that entire subplot on the gambling planet, entire subplot with Benicio del Toro, is really, like, the only point of it at all is really just to get Finn face-to-face with Phasma and wrap up her character, but she's on screen for maybe 10 minutes. And she wasn't even that big of a character to begin with. I mean, they never expanded on her at all. We never really... It was never explained that there was some kind of competition or mutual animosity between Finn and Phasma. She was just his superior officer in the First Order. And they never really showed how she took his betrayal personally, or she had some kind of vendetta against him. That really wasn't expended upon at all. I mean, really, you could have taken Phasma out of this movie altogether, and it wouldn't have meant anything. Honestly, Finn's entire subplot here, minus the stuff, like a little bit of the stuff with Rose, just meant nothing. Just like a Poe's subplot, ultimately. They're really just there to fill time. Now, that really annoys me because they gave all that time to this stuff instead of the stuff I actually wanted to see. Now, imagine if they'd taken all the time devoted to that crap and instead devoted that time to fleshing out Snoke's character, giving us backstory about him, explaining who the hell he is, and then showing Kylo Ren getting trained in the dark side, like they said he was going to get at the end of The Force Awakens, showing Rey actually getting trained in the Force, because we never really get to see that either. And these were all things that The Force Awakens promised we were going to get, and we don't get them. What if all that time was devoted to that stuff instead? Well, we don't get it. Instead, we just did get these pointless subplots. Way too much time spent on all that stuff. All right, what? Oh yeah. No backstory for Snoke at all. We get all this build up to Supreme Supreme Leader Snoke in The Force Awakens. They build him up as this super powerful, super mysterious figure, and then not only does this Rose chick get more backstory than him, we don't learn anything new about Snoke at all. We don't ever learn what his deal was. We don't learn that he was like Darth Plagueis or something cool like that. He's just this guy who is there, and he gets this, again, another really unceremonious death like halfway through the movie. Completely anticlimactic way to kill off that guy without ever explaining who he was or what his deal was. It's an unbelievably stupid death, too. I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a minute. All right, number 2. Next, dropped subplots. Like the Knights of Ren. Where the hell were the Knights of Ren? What happened to them? I don't know. They're just not there anymore. I guess they were supposed to be the ones who, like the other Luke's other apprentices that Kylo Ren disappeared with. But I mean, what happened to them? I don't know. We've only really seen them in the flashback in the Force Awakens. Otherwise, they've never really been mentioned, or we don't know what happened to them or anything. And there were probably more, but I can't. I'm kind of blanking on what they were right now. Next, discontinuity. The end of the Force Awakens, Snoke says to Hux, "Bring Kylo Ren to me. It's time to complete his training." But instead of actually training Kylo in the dark side, which I was excited for because we'd never really seen like dark Jedi or Sith getting trained before. We don't know what all that training. We don't know. We don't know what goes into training a Sith or whatever the hell Kylo Ren is supposed to be. I was really interested to see what dark side training is like, but instead of training him like Snoke said he was going to do, he just chews him out for getting beat by Rey at the end of the Force Awakens. So where was all that training he was supposed to get? They just drop it. It's just retconned away. Same thing with Luke, really. Maz in the Force Awakens said that Luke was waiting for Rey. Your parents aren't. Your family isn't coming for you, but somebody still might. Luke, he's out there. He's waiting for you. And so they build us up. They build it up as Rey is waiting for Luke to. Luke is waiting for Rey to seek him out, and then she shows up on this planet and she meets him, and he's just this bitter asshole who wants the Jedi to end. What the fuck? It doesn't make sense either because he says he went there to die, but if he went there to die, why would he leave a map to his location in The Force Awakens? He wouldn't do that unless he wanted someone to find him, but then somebody finds him and he's like, "I don't want to see you, go away." And also, then there's this thing about how Rey discovers that her sort of discovers who her parents are. Apparently, after people have been speculating on this for 2 years, saying, "Oh, she's Luke's daughter, or she's Obi-Wan Kenobi's daughter somehow." I never bought into that one, but at least it would have been more interesting than this. Or maybe she's Han and Leia's daughter that they mysteriously forgot about or something. Or she's the daughter of somebody important, somebody we care about. And there were so many different theories about this, but instead, her parents are just nobodies. They were drunks who just threw her away because they didn't give a shit. I was like, wow. Talk about a reveal that will satisfy absolutely no one. What on earth made them think that was going to be in any way satisfying to anybody who was watching this movie? It's terrible. It would have been so easy for them to make it so that she was somehow Luke's daughter, and it would have made thematic sense, and it would have been perfect. And then we could just say it, and then we could hear Luke saying the line, "I am your father," and shit. It would have been perfect. And this whole new trilogy is supposed to be about the Skywalker family. That's what Disney said. So it would make perfect sense for Rey to be a Skywalker, and now, no, her parents are just nobodies. They're not important at all. That sucks. That's terrible. And it doesn't make sense either, because they apparently Rey's parents were nobodies who just gave her up for like money or some quick cash or whatever. But in The Force Awakens, Rey had flashbacks, and we heard her mother's voice, and we clearly heard that clearly her mother didn't want to give her up. That's where they were going. That's what they set up. It definitely sounded from that flashback, because we heard her mother's voice. It sounded like the mother did not want to give her up and was forced to give her up because she was in danger or something. That was what was implied. But now, no, they just retcon that away, and now her parents are just nobodies. They gave her up. They didn't give a shit about her. It's like they set up so many things for that could have led to really interesting payoffs and really interesting stories in this one. But then Ryan Johnson gets a hold of the script and he's like, "Nah, fuck all that noise. I just want to change everything and go like in a different direction, Even though there was stuff that was clearly supposed to carry over from one film to the next, and then it just didn't. They just threw it away." Next, disappointing outcomes to storylines. I've waited so many years for this. Was it really that hard to show Luke actually training Rey in the Force? For Christ's sake. In Return of the Jedi, Yoda says to Luke, "Pass on what you've learned." You know, it was up to Luke to train the next generation of Jedi. And we never even get to see him training anybody. All he does is say, "You reach out. Reach out with your feelings." That's the extent of the training that Luke gives her. Instead, he just tells her why he thinks the Jedi need to die now. That's terrible. We never got to see Luke training anyone. We never got to see him passing on what he learned like Yoda wanted him to do. I wanted to see Luke be like a master and having an apprentice and training Rey, and it didn't. It just doesn't happen. Also, Kylo doesn't get trained by Snoke, like Snoke said he was going to do at the end of The Force Awakens. That never happens. Again, Rey's parents are nobodies. They're not Skywalkers or Kenobis or Solos or anyone. They're just drunken nobodies. That sucks. Disappointing outcomes. No backstory or info on Snoke at all. Completely anticlimactic. His death is ridiculous. So they set up that Snoke is the one who is sort of connecting Rey and Kylo Ren. So he's powerful enough to not only sway Kylo Ren to the dark side, but also establish this connection between Kylo and Rey across galaxies. And even as powerful as Rey is, Snoke is powerful enough to make her his bitch without barely lifting a finger, but he can't sense when Kylo is manipulating a lightsaber that's sitting right next to him and activates the lightsaber and kills him that way, and Snoke doesn't see that coming somehow, even though he's powerful enough to do all this other shit. That is ridiculous and stupid. You have all this build-up to Snoke, and then you just kill him off completely unceremoniously in incredibly stupid fashion halfway through the second movie. Why? It's so dumb. We never even got to learn anything about Snoke. Is he Darth Plagueis? Is he a Sith at all? Is he something else? No, apparently we don't learn anything about him. He's just some guy. And even if we do learn more about him in the third one, it's not going to mean as much now because he went out like a bitch. Completely anticlimactic death for Snoke. Oh, his chamber looked like shit, by the way. It literally just looked like a soundstage with a red curtain draped around it. Remember how cool the Emperor's chamber looked in Return of the Jedi? How you had all these big elaborate sets, and you could see the battle, this huge space battle being waged right outside the window. Here, no, it's just a soundstage with a red curtain. Did they run out of money? Did they have to cut corners? Did they not have enough money to build a set? Looks so lame and cheap. Oh, Christ. Also, another disappointing thing. No good lightsaber fights. Fire the choreographer. Whoever's choreographing these things, because he's not good. I was satisfied with the saber fights in The Force Awakens because Rey is not supposed to be trained as a fighter. She's got no training supposedly, so it would make sense that she's kind of just really unrefined and just kind of swinging wildly and stuff because she's not a trained sword fighter. But here, not only has she somehow become a much better sword fighter with no training at all, by the way, she's just mysteriously gotten better somehow. So that made no sense on its own. But the sword fights themselves are kind of unimpressive and unremarkable. I mean, if Rey has somehow like acquired a lot more skill with a saber, then let's see some some impressive swordplay. Let's see some impressive choreography. But it's not that good. It's actually not that good. None of the sword fights are very impressive. Even Kylo Ren and versus Luke is barely there, and that was the most disappointing thing at all. I mean, after we learned what we learned about their backstory, we get to that final battle, and it's like 20 seconds. They do like 2 moves, and then it's just over. Another disappointment. And then, one of the biggest disappointing things about the movie. Why didn't Luke show up at the end in person? They gift-wrapped this entire sequence for themselves, and then they just threw it away without opening it. I thought the stage was set perfectly for this. Like, the First Order is bearing down on the Resistance. They're about to, like, blast open the door and kill everybody, but then, like, this X-Wing is gonna... Luke's X-Wing is gonna, like, fly down out of the atmosphere, and he's gonna fuck up everyone, and then he's gonna get out of the X-Wing and just tear shit up, and, like, he's gonna be this huge, like, Jedi badass, and him and Kylo Ren are gonna have this epic saber fight, and none of that happens. I thought for sure, at the very least, we were going to see Luke raising his X-Wing out of the ocean, because we see the X-Wing in the fucking ocean! I thought for sure he's going to raise the X-Wing out of the ocean, out of the water, with the Force, like he tried to do in Empire Strikes Back, but he couldn't because he thought it was impossible. He thought it couldn't be done. But now he knows it can be done because he's a fully trained master of the Force. So we were going to see him... It was going to tie back into Empire, and we were going to see him raise the X-Wing out, but they didn't even do it. He doesn't even show up in person. It's just a forced projection the whole time, which is stupid, because if you were going to kill Luke anyway, why not have him just show up in person? Instead, Luke just force projects himself because he's what? He's a coward? He just doesn't feel like it? Why, if he was going to die anyway, just have him show up in person. Have him go out in a heroic sacrifice. That would have made sense at least. Instead, they kill him off in this way that is just really confusing and doesn't make any sense at all. Which... Okay. Or seriously, why did Luke die? If he was just force projecting an image of himself, why did he die? Alright, Kylo slashes him with the lightsaber. But it doesn't hurt him because he's just an image. A force projected image. And he just, puts the saber over his hand, throw it in, he's like, I can't touch you, you're not really there. Exactly, he's not really there. So why did he die? What, did he just overexert himself? Or something? Again, how is that in any way satisfying? How is that supposed to kill him? Again, it's so stupid. Like, the death of Luke Skywalker should have been this huge, emotional, heartbreaking moment, and instead it's just confusing. Like, what the fuck just happened? Why did he die? It didn't make any sense. It was just so horribly done. And this pissed me off more than anything. Because of all the ways that you could have given Luke Skywalker his big send-off, you choose that? That's horrible. And this leads me to the worst part about this movie. The handling of Luke and his character. Now, I'm not going to lie, this made me so angry. Because, alright, this is a true story, okay? I took this very personally because Luke is special to me. Now, this is a true story. Luke Skywalker is my earliest memory. That's the God's honest truth. All right. My earliest memory, the first thing I can remember as a little kid, is watching The Empire Strikes Back. I even remember what scene it was. It was when Luke is fighting Vader, and Vader is using the Force to hurl objects at Luke, and my dad said something like, "Oh, he's using the Force wrong," or something like that. That's my earliest memory, is watching Luke Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back. Ever since then, Luke was one of my childhood heroes. Ever since then, Luke, he's been in here. One of my heroes as a little kid. He's always been one of my heroes. And to see the way he was mishandled in this movie, it kind of broke my heart. Throwing away his father's lightsaber like a piece of trash in a moment played for laughs. Getting this stupid, ridiculous, confusing death. But what they did with his character, the whole backstory with how Ben Solo turned into Kylo Ren, was awful. This is what really made sense to me, remembering how Mark Hamill went to Rian Johnson and said, "Look, I completely disagree with what you're doing to Luke here. Completely disagree. Here's where I finally all clicked." Because Ben Solo became Kylo Ren because Luke sensed there was a darkness in Kylo Ren and Ben, and for a second he was tempted to just kill him. What? Rian Johnson, did you even see Return of the Jedi? The whole plot of Return of the Jedi was that everyone is telling Luke, look, to become a Jedi, you have to confront Vader. You have to kill Vader. You have to stop it. Everyone, up to and including Obi-Wan and Yoda, are telling him to just nut up and kill the bastard. Vader, who at this point is the most evil person in the galaxy, second only to Palpatine. Even with all that, Luke is saying, no, I can't do it. He's my father, he's my family, I can't kill him. I can't do it. I sense the goodness in him. I know he's in turmoil, I know he's in conflict, I can face him, I can bring that goodness out. I can bring him back. I can save him from the dark side. I can do it. I refuse to kill my father. He's my family. I can't fucking do it. And in the end, he doesn't kill Vader. He saves him from the dark side. And now you're telling me that just because Luke sensed a darkness in Ben Solo, that even for a second he would be tempted to stop him, to put him down, his nephew, the daughter of his sister and his best friend, that he would even consider it. Even for a second. No. Fuck you, Rian Johnson. No, that's horseshit. Luke Skywalker wouldn't do that. If you know anything about Luke Skywalker's character, you would know what fucking horseshit that is. Luke would never do that. And to have it... to have that be a part of Star Wars canon right now, it just infuriates me so much. To have that be how Luke goes out. We never get to see him training anyone. He inadvertently creates Kylo Ren because of this ridiculous, stupid, out-of-character writing. We never get to see him passing on what he learned. The story of Luke Skywalker is he tried to train a new Order of Jedi off-screen. He failed. His apprentice turned against him. He turned into a bitter asshole. And then the apprentice kills him. The end. So because Luke just completely forgot everything he learned in Return of the Jedi. Because Rian Johnson never even saw that movie. And it could be argued probably never saw The Force Awakens either, judging by how many, like all the discontinuity and retcons in this thing. What they did to Luke here was, to me, was just unforgivable. I don't know if I'll be able to watch the original trilogy and look at it the same way after this, because I know what happens to Luke afterward. Heartbreaking. Very frustrating movie. The more I think about it, the more I just discover things that just infuriate me about this entire film. There was actually very little that I liked about it. Because I mean, you could pick this thing apart all day long, really. The more I analyze it, the more things I see that I don't like about it. It's what bugs me. You go on Tumblr, the stuff that they're bitching about more than anything is that Ray didn't hook up with Finn, or didn't hook up with Kylo, and then there's people who hate Kylo. Oh, they're setting up a romance between Rey and her the abusive white guy or whatever. Guys, there's so many bigger problems with this film than who hooks up with who. It's like fucking Tumblr. I don't know why I'm still on that platform, but so yeah, in a way, in a lot of ways, actually, this is my the most frustrated I've ever been by a Star Wars movie. Even the prequels didn't fuck things up this badly, because I kind of felt like Rian Johnson didn't respect the Star Wars mythos and cared more about just doing his own thing than doing what the fans wanted. And this is the guy that they're giving his own, and now Disney is giving Rian Johnson his own trilogy to make. Really? After he butchered so many things about the lore in this movie, you're giving him his own trilogy? J.J. Abrams has an impossible mess to clean up with Episode 9 now. I honestly don't. I don't think it can be done. They ruined Luke Skywalker. You know, Carrie Fisher's gone. Yeah, the narrative is a mess. There's so many dropped plot lines and plot holes that they have to navigate around or pick up or discard or whatever. I don't know how they can fix this. So disappointing. I was really counting on this movie being good because, as you know, I've had a rough time lately. I really, really wanted this movie to be good. And to have it turn out the way it did, it hurts. It really hurts. Alright, let's see what you guys thought about it. Really liked the movie? Okay. This movie is garbage day. Disrespected Luke's character and disrespected Star Wars. Exactly. The film is racist, too. Racist. How? I heard some people on... There were some people on Tumblr saying it was racist. I don't know how. I mean, the characters of color all got their own subplots. I mean, granted, the subplots sucked, but they were there. I don't see how this movie is racist. There's plenty of other problems with it, sure, but racist? I don't know. I don't think so. Can you explain that? Mark Hamill was trying to warn us about the movie. Yeah. Yeah, Rey is a Mary Sue character. Nothing gets behind her. I don't know if she's exactly a Mary Sue, but it does seem like she's heading in that direction. I thought they made her flawed enough in The Force Awakens to avoid the Mary Sue thing. Now they're getting close. Luke showed more power than any Jedi in history. How is that disrespectful? It was disrespectful because they butchered his character. And they showed him doing things that he would never have done. If you know anything about Luke Skywalker's character, you would know what complete bullshit it was. That the role he played in the creation of Kylo Ren, you would know he would never do that. Never do that. He wouldn't turn into some bitter asshole who just goes off to die for some bullshit reason. Angry Joe said he was also disappointed in The Last Jedi. I think he gave The Last Jedi a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I was just watching Joe's review before I started this. I'm so sorry that you just can't win. Sometimes life can be a bitch. Yeah. I've definitely had that feeling lately that I just can't win. I could really use a win right now. Really use a win. Luke tossed the lightsaber because the New Hope had gotten old and gave up hope because of what went down with the nephew and he doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. Yeah, and how is that in any way satisfying to people who, like, just... It wasn't the direction that... I don't think anyone wanted them to go in that direction with Luke. And if he was kind of demoralized and disillusioned and everything, okay, but why did they spend the entire movie on him just being this bitter old wreck who doesn't want anything to do with the Force or the Jedi anymore? You can do that for like 15, 20 minutes, but then have him get inspired again and have him actually train Rey like we wanted to see. Does Rey have to be related? It's a big galaxy with lots of people. She didn't have to, but I think it would have been more interesting than her parents just being drunken nobodies. Plus, she could still be someone. Her biggest fear is that her parents just abandoned her. Kylo Ren may have just been playing mind games with her. Yeah, possibly, but in all likelihood, that's the truth, because I don't see what revealing that... I don't see what changing the story at this point does. Because if she did turn out to be a Skywalker, then ideally you'd want her to learn that while Luke is still alive. He's dead now. And she's got no reason to talk to him ever again, even if he comes back as a Force ghost. So even if they retcon that now and make it so that her parents actually were important, like Skywalkers or Kenobis or somebody important, it's not going to mean as much. Thought the Rey and Kylo team-up was a good fight scene. Really? I thought the choreography was completely underwhelming. Luke's plane was wrecked and there was no way to fix it on that island. Okay, well, Luke's X-Wing crashed in The Empire Strikes Back, and he still managed to fly it out of there. All they had to do was just raise it out of the water. He did some quick maintenance on it in the swamp, and then he just flew away. You don't know what kind of supplies Luke had with him. He could have raised it out of the ocean and just done a quick maintenance check on it and then flew away. It might still work. You don't know. Kylo told Rey that he knew something was going on because if they used that much power where they could talk across the galaxy, it would kill them. Kylo is too far gone. He's the next time. It was as bad as the hardcore fans think. I'd rather them go in a different direction than trying to recreate the original, but don't sweat. At least Marvel will make 2018 awesome. Yeah, because we might get because they're getting the X-Men and Fantastic Four rights back, so that's good. Hopefully they'll get back to making good X-Men comics now. Seeing the X-Men in the MCU, that's good. That'll be awesome. There was nothing racist about this movie. Just because Rey and Finn didn't hook up, it's a matter. There was still an interracial kiss. Oh, is that what the racism thing came from? All those fangirls are just butthurt that Finn and Rey didn't hook up? They're calling that racism? If anything, Finn had more focus on him than he got in The Force Awakens. He even got his own side story this time. So they're giving more attention to the character. They're giving more attention and more focus to the black guy, but somehow the movie is racist. How? Well, because him and Rey didn't hook up. What the wasn't the whole story of the prequels like a cautionary tale about what happens when a Jedi allows himself to get romantic with somebody? And now they want the Jedi of this movie, Rey, to hook. They're calling it racism if Rey doesn't hook up with Finn. Shouldn't they want Rey to hook up with nobody? I mean, we've seen a lot of evidence that Jedi having romances is kind of a big no-no because it leads to bad things. It leads to them being emotionally compromised, which leads to the dark side. I mean, as ill-conceived as the prequels were, you know, that's what they did. That was the message they sent. So it's canon now. And now you're saying, oh no, we want Finn and Rey to hook up, and if they don't, then it's racism. God, everything is racism to these idiots. You still got your interracial kiss, even though it didn't really make much sense in context because I didn't get the impression that Finn and Rose had any romantic chemistry. And then suddenly she kisses him just like that because she's in love with him all of a sudden? How did that happen? She's known this guy for like, what, 2 days? I can buy that they've grown to become friends or whatever, but what, now she's in love with him somehow? What? Where did that come from? So I agree, that relationship wasn't set up well at all, but they still did it. You still got your interracial kiss. How is this racism? That's fucking ridiculous. Is there anything else? All right, so it would appear that's about everything we've got. Okay, so that's my thoughts on The Last Jedi. Very disappointing movie. The more I think about it, the more it just frustrates the hell out of me, and I'm very angry and infuriated and frustrated with what they did to Luke and the story and the lore. And there was no care to keep things. There was no care to steer around plot holes or to do things that made sense, and all these pointless new characters focused on instead of the people who I wanted the focus to be on, and a lot of stupid plot holes and shit like that. It's just they needed some kind of a story editor to say, no, you can't do this because of ABC, you can't do that because of ABC, and clearly Rian Johnson was given too much creative freedom on this. And yeah, J.J. Abrams may have played it kind of safe with The Force Awakens, but at least you could tell that he cared about what the fans thought, and he wanted to make something that was for the fans. Rian Johnson didn't want to make a movie for the fans. I think he just wanted to make his own thing. And unfortunately, he kind of the entire Star Wars saga is colored by this now. It's it's a black mark on this. The way the lore was just treated so unceremoniously with like no with so little respect and reverence. It just I'm not okay with it. I don't like it. So, needless to say, I will not be picking this up when it drops on home video. I got The Force Awakens on DVD. I will not be picking this one up. Frustrated. I really wanted this one to be good. I really needed this one to be good because I feel like I just can't win right now. So that's about all I got. So thanks for tuning in. I promise I will try to have the microphone up and running by next week. And the Impact Asylum booking challenge is still going on. I finished my week 6 entry. Finished writing that one earlier today, so that is done. I've got to do some editing on it, but it's basically written. So I'll be sending that into Old School Heel rather, on Tuesday, and then I just have to book my pay-per-view, which should go pretty quickly. Even because it's mostly just matches, but I do have payoffs for some storylines that I have to describe in greater detail. But it should go faster than the actual TV episodes that I had to write. And after that one, I can finally after I finally finish that one, I can hopefully get to work on that the superhero show review series that I was talking about in the last week, because I really wanted to give that a legitimate shot. So I'll finally be able to focus on that, do some work on that, and I don't know how long it'll take to crank out the reviews the way I want to make them, but I'll do one, and I'll see how that goes, and then we'll take it from there. But I want to give that a legitimate shot, and not sure when I'm going to be coming back to reviewing wrestling. Because, like I said, my heart's just not in it at the moment, and getting through the booking challenge has been getting progressively harder because it's just getting really hard to concentrate on that stuff. So I guess it's one of the things that just takes time. Just right now, I can't. I don't know. It's really hard to focus on that after the last couple of weeks that I've had. So I don't know. I want to come back to it at some point, but hopefully soon. But right now, I don't know. I've got all this other stuff on my mind, and wrestling is just not like a high priority at the moment. And so I want to get back to it, but right now I just don't know. I just don't know when it'll happen. But I do want to continue talking to you guys on at least a semi-regular basis until I get together everything that needs to get to be pulled together. I'm still trying to clean up Dad's house. The basement is proving a pretty insurmountable task. I've managed to create some more space in there, but there's still so much junk. Like every day, I'm pulling out like one or two huge garbage bags full of stuff, but there's still so much down there. So that's going to be a pretty long process. And after that, there's the garage, which is also full of junk, and there's everything else in the house, and I gotta pay Dad's still got bills coming in, the credit card bill, and everything else, and it's just this gigantic nightmare headache I never wanted to deal with, and I wasn't in any way prepared to deal with. And there's also the stuff I'm dealing with, I guess I'm going to be talking to a specialist at some point to figure out if I do indeed have Asperger's. And afterward, I don't know what can be done about that, but it really just messed my head up, and I don't know what to do about it yet. So I'm sorry if you guys want me to come back and review wrestling, but my head's just not in it right now. I feel like even if I did try to do it, it wouldn't go well because my head's just kind of pulled in a million different directions. It's I'm not there for it. So I guess I just got to give it some time. So we'll see. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. There's my thoughts on The Last Jedi. Long story short, just didn't like it. Wasn't good. Thought it kind of disrespected the Star Wars mythos in a lot of ways, and I kind of wish I could just forget about it, honestly. But there you go. Thanks for tuning in, and I promise I will do my best to have the microphone up and running the next time I talk to you guys. Don't know when that'll be. I'll try for next weekend, and so hopefully I'll talk to you then. All right. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you later.